Welcome everyone to the Wire Podcast. Timmy Reyes is smiling because this is his first time riding a Dominator II, and it's also his first time back in the water after a long injury layoff. So this is what it's like to watch a professional surfer slowly get back to surfing like a professional surfer. The falls, the makes, the misses, the glory, the frustration, all taking place in random waves like you might find anywhere. You can enjoy this episode in the background while you check the waves or go on a beach walk or wash the dishes or even while you wax your new board in the living room. I have done that. So have you. Don't get any wax on the carpet. You can find more episodes of The Wire Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search The Wire by Firewire Surfboards. Timmy Reyes.
How's it going?
Welcome to The Wire Podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm stoked to be here again.
Well, I'm stoked to be here in your house.
Good thing we bought a beer for this one.
Cheers, bro.
Heck yeah.
Good to be here at Casa de Reyes in Huntington Beach. Before we talk about the shirt that you're wearing, which our audience is really going to care about, you're from Huntington Beach.
Yes.
Okay, you've traveled the world. You could have at any time in your life just kind of decided to live somewhere else. Why did you never do that? Why Huntington Beach?
Huntington is just home. It's California. I think everyone in the world wants to come and live in Southern California. It's where our epicenter of surfing really is in the U.S. and we're so close to such great waves and it's just easy to be from right here. We have airports all over the place. And then also, like I said, it's just good waves. It's warm all year. I never thought I'd actually live here for as long as I did. I just kind of fell back in love with it over the last few years of traveling. And just it's almost every time you go in the water, it's just reminds you of being a kid again. And that's what it's like for me surfing at home, especially since this injury, just being able to get back in the water and surfing around the home woods. And it's really nice.
So we'll get to the injury in a second. But first of all, today's Monday and you're wearing a collared shirt. And I learned this about you a couple years ago. Every Monday you wear a collared shirt.
Yeah. I don't know how it came about. I guess maybe I don't have a real job. So
yeah, so it's like you're trying to bring some semblance of like,
yeah, I mean, everyone's all bummed out on Mondays or going to work or whatever, and I'm just showing up with my funny attire on a Monday or a dress shirt on a Monday, whatever it is, like an aloha shirt, and just it's always like makes you feel good and happy. So
cool.
It's a good way to start off the week.
So it's not you just reminding yourself that you're fortunate to not have to wear a collared shirt to work every day. It is something that legit makes you feel happy just to put on that collared shirt once a week. Start the week off professionally. Well, the injury, man. What happened, man? Because I know you kind of went through the ringer.
Yeah. It was just we had one of those foggy mornings on a little south swell a couple months ago. And there was some fun little waves, but for me, surfing in the fog, I'm really bad because I can't, for some reason, I just don't distinguish color or different things as well as I would like to, or textures. And basically with surfing, you're hitting off of textures and bowls and whatnot. So I kind of skip normally surfing when it's foggy. When it's raining and stuff, I don't have any problem, or when it's storming, distinguishing where to go on a wave. But yeah, I blame it on the fog. But I caught this right-hander, not a big wave, was flying down the line on my Cymatic, which I was going really fast on for that morning. Did a really big wrap in the pocket. It felt really good, and when I finished the turn, I just kind of felt like just not right. When I kicked out, I was just like, oh, that's definitely my knee. I was like, oh, and back knee. Just kind of torqued it or twisted it in a way. And I let it kind of relax for a few days there. And then I saw the doctor, and he was just saying, yeah, it looks like you have just either a bruised meniscus or a compressed knee, with maybe a small torn MCL.
Ooh.
And I kind of felt that, and I was like, okay, this is my first time I've ever torn an MCL or hurt your knee. It's kind of, okay, give myself 3 or 4 weeks and go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. 3 to 4 weeks later, actually, my knee felt pretty good. And then so I just started to get back out in the water again, and I just noticed my hip and my back were just like completely compressed as well. So I was going to the chiropractor every other day. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. And eventually, 2 months down the road now, I got to surf again for the first time with no pain in the knee, the hip, or the back. But yeah, it's a frightening situation when your health is not 100%. Whether you're an athlete or you're not, it's just a terrible feeling when your health isn't great.
Yeah. So it felt like knee injury kind of triggered a hip injury, kind of triggered a back injury.
Yeah, just kind of just discombobulated for like I just felt weird. You're just like out of body. You're just not walking right. And I was trying to train during that time, which I think probably triggered more inflammation in the areas and ultimately maybe set me behind a little bit. But I was just trying to do what I think was important is keeping in shape. And I think sometimes you just got to take a break for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't really ever strike me as the kind of guy that's sort of good at taking breaks. Like,
no, I'm terrible. I try to keep moving, and then there's only limited things that you can do, or so many things you can do. And I definitely let it get the best of me because I don't like to be like completely locked down in a house. Or
do you get bored and like, I just got to go on a trip? Like, I mean,
yeah, definitely, for sure. But I've hurt myself plenty of times, and now it's just to the point where I just know I need rest. It's like, okay, this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to accept it when you're very physical or athletic. Then you have to put down and just chill out. But hey, that's what they make wine and beer for, and cool people that are in your life will accept you for who you are, and you kind of have to go through this together.
So you're reminding me of some stuff that Shane Dorian told me like maybe 2 years ago or something like that. He was talking about how his days of chasing really big waves are behind him now. He's like transitioned out of that and left it. And it's occurring to me now, like, where do you view yourself within that life equation of pushing it up into a certain point in your life and then kind of backing off and going easy on your body and your health and your well-being? I mean, because you have had injuries, you have come back for them, but I wonder, are you starting to get the idea that it's going to be time to back off and just surf peaks and tubes, and not chase the big stuff anymore? I wonder if this is if the time off injured has made you like kind of think about that.
Well, yeah, over the last 2 years, I had like 3 concussions that were pretty big. And some of them weren't necessarily on huge waves. They were just really good, solid waves. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, a moment when you got to step back a little bit. But
are you there yet?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do enjoy surfing rather large waves, but it's not always first on my list. Like it's more. I'm more searching for those ones that are perfect and that no one's around, and you get to surf those days with some friends or by yourself. The big waves. I mean, something that I think I chased for a little bit there, but sometimes you just come back from those trips and you didn't get one, or you just get clobbered the whole time.
Yeah.
You're really at the mercy of whatever the ocean's going to give you and how you're kind of feeling mentally when you're stepping into the ring of the giants, basically. Yeah. So if I'm out there now when it is a little bigger, I just kind of take my time and I enjoy whatever is kind of I get to ride for that day. I'm not so like pushing myself as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Unless it's just when it's perfect and big, and that's very rare.
Those choice moments.
Yeah, it's going to be a rare one. But I mean, last year we surfed some amazing big waves, and it was as perfect as it can be, and 20, 30 feet, and nobody around, and we were able to get a couple of big tubes.
Cool.
I just don't foresee a whole lot of that actually happening. So it's like, I'm not going to throw myself out there and risk it, especially after this injury. I haven't been able to work out for the last 2 months. So that's kind of hard. And leaving to Hawaii on Friday.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So I'm leaving to Hawaii on Friday. I'm just going to get over there and just kind of like clear the head, feel the sun, walk on the beach, and go and try to get a couple waves here and there.
How long do you think you're going to stay over there?
I think this is going to be a fairly quick one, probably a few weeks.
Cool. You mentioned big tubes, and we'll get to your recent comeback. I'll call it the comeback session on the Dominator II in a second. But you mentioned big tubes, and while you say big tubes, I'm looking over your shoulder, and there's a big framed photo of a surfing magazine cover, and you're in an enormous tube.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that, and I'm realizing not only is Surfing Magazine no longer a magazine, but Surfer Magazine is no longer a magazine. And I wonder, like, what's that feel like for you? That, like, all the surf media platforms that you kind of built yourself on.
Yeah.
What does that feel like that they're gone now? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's hard to kind of know really what you're actually doing, because that's your whole goal is, like, as a surfer, is to be printed or like to show your abilities.
Mm-hmm. You're less sure of what your job is now, kind of a thing?
I'm just going to continue doing my same thing and provide content whenever it's needed, and fill my soul with good waves. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of job opportunity is out there for now this market,
Mm-hmm.
because there are no more print ads. There's a lot of stuff that's no longer, but it's such a bummer to not see that, because, as well as I do, you know what day or what week that magazine's coming in, and you're so stoked to open up the paper and see what's inside there, or who's doing what. I think technology definitely did kill the magazines. Mm-hmm. Regardless of whatever the controversy around not having magazines and seeing internet, all this stuff, there are kids now coming up that are better than any kids have ever been, because of what they can watch on their phone all the time or their computer at home.
You're kind of, what are you doing now? You're coaching Groms nowadays too?
I'm helping out here and there with some local kids, and it's a fun way to give back to your community. And it's super fun to obviously just hang out on the beach, and have the kids learn a little bit more, like, about the ocean, about technique, and contest strategy, because contests are still a thing.
Yeah, contests are still a thing. For our audience, I showed up here at your house in Huntington Beach, and you were coming back from the pier where you were filming a kid. So, I mean, you do seem like you're very involved in the next generation kind of coming up. And, yeah, on back to your surfing though. Looked like a fun day on the north side of the pier the other day.
Yeah, it was one of those really pretty glassy mornings that we don't really get too often see here in Huntington, because we make wind here. Mm-hmm. It's always
make wind.
Yeah, we make wind in Huntington. Right,
all
here.
The wind comes from Huntington Beach.
Yeah, here and probably Oxnard. This is the two windiest places on our coast. I do have to thank it, though, because I learned how to do airs into the wind. I learned how to ride choppy waves, really shitty choppy waves. Mm-hmm. The current's always pretty rough here, and the waves break far out. So I do owe Huntington a whole lot of how or my experience in water came from here. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of it's sort of like a dojo training studio for, like, all the random conditions you'd find anywhere else around the planet, kind of.
Yeah, we have a mixture of, like I said, current, waves, wind, shore break, outside.
Yeah.
And then when the waves get big, there's definitely a few spots that we can ride in the summer and winter.
Yeah. Well, you were on a Dominator II, and I wonder, before I ask you about that board, do you remember the original Dominator?
Yeah, the original Dominator had a a round tail, I believe. I rode that for, I think, maybe half a year, and then I stuck to the Spitfire. It's basically the same thing, but I like the tail. I've always been like a fan of the diamond tail because it's kind of like a mixture of like a swallow slash like round tail. It's kind of like an in-betweener. You can kind of pivot off the points in the back, and then there's release off the tail.
So what do you feel on a Dominator II compared to a Spitfire or the Dominator I, the original?
I feel like this is definitely one of the more, it feels like a little bit smoother. And with the new pulled in tail, I can definitely get pretty tight up in the lip and also slide the tail out kind of in random spots. But it still has like the super hold. The board I'm riding is the 5.4, and that's 19 and 3/8 wide. It's really wide. Like my normal board is about 18 and a half or just under. So to feel that width under my arm paddling out, I was like, I don't know,
Feels
like this
strange.
is a little bit different for sure. But when I was surfing it, it didn't feel wide. And then in the width there, when the waves actually like kind of like slowed down or flattened out, I was able to just kind of cruise right through them. Or do turns in places where I normally wouldn't be able to.
When you say it feels smoother, like where do you notice a surfboard feeling smoother? In what maneuvers do you feel it?
Definitely kind of more in between maneuvers is when you kind of can tell what your board is up to. Not necessarily actually doing a maneuver. I find it like it's what comes out next after your move you just did. If the board has drive, or if it's just going to spin out on you, or if it's still floating and it still wants to go on rail and feel like just underneath your feet. And this board feels just really connected underneath the feet, and it just feels really easy to ride.
So it's like you notice it in the transitions between
Definitely
the maneuvers, kind of a thing.
Definitely.
And you've been running a thruster set on it?
Thruster setup with some older AM2, and those are the futures. I do believe, though, the difference of the futures and FCS are a little bit different. I would say if you were going for more looseness, you'd want to get the FCS too. I think if you were a guy maybe a little bit bigger or heavier, or you like to surf on your rail quite a bit, futures is probably going to be better feeling. And then given the fact of surfing places with rocks or kelp, then I'm going to always lean towards the futures because it's not going to just lose your fin or whatnot.
Have you talked to other professionally talented surfers about your preferences between fin systems? Have you heard
it's been an argument, I think, between all like pro surfers is like which one's better. I think it's probably around 70-30 leaning towards futures. But some of the other guys like the way the flexes of the FCS have, like, for the most part, FCS is pretty much sunken in the board now. It's not like two pegs how it used to be. Two pegs in two little small holes. So the fin box is actually a really great design, and having to be able to change fins in and out really quickly is great. I think for me, I feel the tips on the FCS a little bit more flimsy. But that's good in small waves too. So small wave board with that is probably a damn good combo.
Man, it's interesting. I always like geeking out on like the subtleties that you notice between different boards. It's really interesting when you have someone who's surfed as many waves as you and ridden as many boards as you. You know what I was tripping out before I came over here? I remember this so vividly. I was living in Hawaii in the year 2000. And there was a video that came out, a surf film, back when surf films actually came out. And you were on a trip to Cabo. The film might have been called like, who would have been in this thing? I'm trying to, but it began Interpol. The song was by Interpol.
Okay.
and it began with you guys on the plane, and you mostly surfed around the East Cape of Cabo.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, like, you've been doing this for such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a high level. It just trips me out. And it's funny to think back 20 years ago. I had already at that point known who you were for so long before the year 2000.
And I was probably either riding, my dad was a big guy with glass and fins,
Mm-hmm.
or if I was traveling somewhere with small boards, I'd have my FCS. So it was either glassins or FCS.
And now you've evolved into mostly futures.
Mostly. If you guys ran out of surfboards, then I'm going to get my FCS2s. I know exactly what fins I'm going to put inside there, but it definitely took me a little bit of time.
Jeez. So, what's 2021 hold for you, do you think? What are you kind of tentatively planning for the moment?
I'm finishing up a piece with my buddy that's more of a personal project.
Mm-hmm.
A mixture of some cold water travel and beautiful sceneries, and kind of more telling a story that's maybe I haven't told or shown on our devices. So that's kind of something that's in the major making. If we don't get the proper swells and we need, then it'll go another year. Mm-hmm. It's definitely nothing that we're going to rush towards. Mm-hmm. So I have that project, and next thing is just kind of trying to figure out what is happening in our surf community, what's going on, who's doing what, and where I could find myself within our industry, so that I can go forward doing what I love to do, surf. It doesn't matter where, but and just being maybe closer to sponsorships or whatever. I'm just kind of looking to do something different, and I'm not hanging it up. And I've actually never retired from competitive surfing. So there's a possibility of doing a couple of events here and there.
That's an interesting point. You're right. You've never come out and retired from professional contest surfing. You just haven't done it.
Yeah. I just chose not to do it.
Do you want to drop any hints as to what kind of contests you might like try to seek out?
There's a few out there coming in the next year. There's it looks like the Steamer Lane's going to be back on.
Yeah.
So you might see me up there.
You've got a pretty good history up in that part of the world.
So there's a possibility for that. There always has been talk to get me back over there to Bolito, because O'Neill sponsors the Bolito event in South Africa, which I won. So I don't know.
Defend your championship in Bolito.
I don't know why. I mean, I didn't do it the following year because I didn't have enough points to actually do it. But in most other, if you look at a lot of different sports, if they've won there before, they get an automatic in. Isn't
that interesting? Yeah.
And our sport doesn't allow that. And then I don't want to go surf Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
No
offense to anyone.
No offense to Virginia Beach, but I don't want to go surf that in the summer when it's flat. And go try to grovel around and get my points all through Europe, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to go to the places I would like to go to and surf. And if you've won somewhere, I think you should be allowed to surf in it again.
Sounds like a great idea to me.
Well, I think even on the WCT, for guys that have won events but are no longer there, but they've won, I feel like that should still be in the talk about getting them out there. Hey, how you feeling? Blah blah. Like, get on the talk with all on the board for surfing and be like, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm gonna get back in it.
Well, maybe we should consider this our formal petition to the WSL to make it so that anyone who has won an event in the past gets a formal wild card into the event.
I think there should be.
Timmy Reyes has formally requested.
I mean, there's not going to be. What's the point of putting another guy in there that's probably been on the QS for 10, 12 years?
Yeah.
In the 90 spot or whatever. And then not letting the guy that actually won the contest be able to surf it.
Hey,
So,
these problems are above my pay grade. I can't. I mean, change it.
I don't even know what pay is, but but I don't know. It's just the controversies of our sport. It's kind of funny to talk about.
Well, whatever you get up to in 2021, myself and a lot of people are going to be excited to see kind of what comes of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a freestyle. 2021 is going to be, I think, a
freestyling year
for everyone.
Yeah,
I don't think it's just me or whoever. It's just everyone's just barely surviving in their own way.
Yeah.
And trying to be happy in their own, whether it's with family, friends, doing the things they love to do. A lot of things have been taken away from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that next year will be almost like 2020 happened, but then everyone's just going to start kind of mingling around and start figuring it back out again.
Cool. Well, we'll see what happens, man. I'm stoked for the new year. Can't wait for this year to be over. Send us out with just your sort of review of the Dominator II. What waves, what conditions does it work best in for you? You have a lot of boards. What conditions, what wave types are going to make you grab a Dominator II and surf that?
Dominator II, like I said, I've only had it for a few weeks, but I've been riding it for the past week at 85%, 90% out of the way I feel. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it works in kind of your traditional beach break in anywhere, really, because I've used it in steep waves. I've used it in kind of slopey Huntington waves to gutless, and it still went. Yeah. I was actually surprised I surfed as well as I did the other day because I was definitely tripping over my feet a couple times and just
you can see that in the clips.
Yeah,
you're just getting your sea legs back.
Yeah, I felt like my legs weren't connected to my body. That's kind of how I felt. But we rattled off a few turns, and the board felt super great out the pier. Given the fact that I've surfed there a million times, but that's probably for me the hardest wave in the world to surf.
Still,
it's still it's just so difficult for me to surf there.
What about it is difficult? Just the same stuff. Breaks far out. Wind is variable. Just the crowd. I mean, that's got to drive you nuts.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think I don't know. Like I over analyze waves or something. It's just not like a straightforward way you surf a wave. So you go say you surf lowers. It's a drop in, take off. You're going behind on a peak. It's kind of pretty simple to surf. Here you're kind of bouncing around from section to section, or you could just keep doing cutbacks to the beach. I like to use or utilize the entire wave here. So sometimes I'll get a little bit out front of it, come back, and I don't know. I just play around here, but I just find it probably the hardest wave to surf for me because I'm just used to maybe a little more juice.
So send us out with this question because I wonder, name off one or two or three people, if they even exist, who is currently surfing Huntington Beach day to day, who has surfed Huntington Beach more than you at this point?
Brett Simpson.
Yeah,
that's his spot.
He's the guy out there.
He surfs there every day.
Okay.
We make fun of him for it.
Really?
I'm more of a state beach surfer. I'll find the little peak by myself, and that's where I'll surf most of the time.
There you go. Timmy Reyes in isolation, as always. Thanks for catching up, dude.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.